right, race fans, you got Ryan Aho and the Burt Lehman. Now, your episode 53, One to Go show, 1 year in the books. Puka bowed out again. Puka, we love you, man, but I don't know, man. I don't know. This was his idea, by the way, and he ain't here. We love you. I gotta jab you every once in a while. We miss you. So I'm excited. We had a great week of racing. You know, as little racing as there was, you know, in relation to the last month or a couple months, there was still some good racing going on. Did you get a chance to watch any this week?
Yeah, I watched the late model show down in Mississippi both nights. Well, I watched the features. I didn't watch the heat races. And I watched some of the modified racing, USRA racing that was taking place. So
I missed that. What kind of racing?
Actually, the modified racing was more exciting than the late model racing this week.
Yeah, it was a pretty big deal. Championship weekend for the USRA mods. I say we start there. Actually, you know, you ask and we deliver, right? We had fans on there saying, hey, talk about the traveling series for the mods a little bit more. So just for you fans, we're going to start there. Championship weekend. Thursday rained out. They had Monster, I think it was Monster Mania. Is that what it was called? And the first night, actually, they went Friday night, and that's the only one I didn't watch. I did not get. I've been so swamped that I didn't get a chance to watch this. I saw a couple of highlights, but it was a Grant Youngins Memorial over at the Lakeside Speedway, Kansas City, Kansas. What did you see there? There was some action at that one. The track had a little character from what I saw.
Yeah, the track was a little rough. It was funny because they interviewed Terry Phillips afterwards, and he wasn't real happy with the track. I've interviewed Terry Phillips a few times when he's raced up in Wisconsin, and he can be a little gruff sometimes, and you know he's not afraid to voice his opinion. But Ricky Thornton Jr. Won that race. Great late model driver who came graduated from the modified division. But I was going to ask, you should go back and watch the beginning of that race because you should see the start that he got to the race. He was like a car length ahead of the guy next to him coming out of 4. I mean, he jumped out to a lead. It was interesting because Jordan Grabowski was driving Terry Phillips' other car. So there's 275s racing, and, you know, those two must be really good friends because whenever at the Clash at the Creek at 141 Speedway every year, Terry Phillips is driving one of Grabowski's IMCA modified. So for the different series, they must let each other drive each other's cars. So they must be pretty good friends. And you know, Jake O'Neill started 18th, and he was in the top 5 by lap 11. So he was on the move. The track was choppy, as we stated, and that's evident by the results. With 18 laps to go, there were only 10 cars left in the race. 25 cars started, and it was a 42-lap race. So, you know, a little over halfway, and you know, more than half the field is gone. Only 8 cars actually finished the race. And, you know, Ricky Thornton Jr. looked like he had it at hand. And then with 2 laps to go, you could see a little bit of smoke coming out. And on the last lap, he slowed dramatically. But Tyler Wolf, who was in second place at the time, wasn't able to close in on the gap in 1 lap. So Thornton kind of coasted across the line. And in his post-race interview, he said that motor's just been laying around all year, that they hadn't even raced it. So he didn't seem too concerned that he lost it. But, I mean, I think it was some major damage to the motor because there was smoke coming out of the headers. So that's never – I'm not an engine man, but I know that's not good.
Well, he didn't race the rest of the weekend, and it kind of sounded like he may have not planned to. Sounded like he said he was going to do the Halloween deal with the kids, but who knows? If he wouldn't have blown up the motor, as he's a race car driver, he probably would have been at the next one too. And, you know, you said 8 cars finished, and what's crazy is if there would have been 2, 3, 4 more laps, it would have been 7, 6, 5 cars finished. So track had some character. In fact, you know, great to see 20RT win. That guy's a hell of a wheel man. You talked about that start, and that doesn't surprise me. I haven't seen that yet. It doesn't surprise me though, because he's got such track presence, right? He's so in tune with the track, and I mean, it shows in his results. But I heard there was some excitement in the BMOD feature too.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I didn't watch the BMOD feature initially until I talked to you, and yeah, there was a big accident in that race. I mean, actually, I didn't write down the name, but whoever was leading the race, you know, took the lead early on, and he had a half a track lead on the rest of the field. I mean, he was in a totally different zip code. Then a caution came out, and within 2 laps, he had built himself up to another quarter lap lead in only like 2 laps. But then another caution came out, and on the restart, he continued to lead. You know, went that lap going into 4. It looked like he kind of jumped the cushion, pushed high. I don't know if something broke on his car, but he kept drifting higher and higher. Hit the wall. When he hit the wall, the car actually jumped off on the ground, went on its side, and rolled onto his roof. And then he got hit by 3 other cars that were going down the straightaway. Watching the video, looked like the entire rear end was ripped out of the car. Luckily, he was okay. You know, a lot of damage to the car, obviously, but cars can be replaced. So,
yeah, I saw some highlights of that, Bert. And, I mean, it was like the Talladega wreck, and something broke in his right rear suspension, because you see the car kind of laid over on the right rear. My guess is something with the eliminator, the shock mount or whatever. It looked like maybe I don't know if he's on swing arms or if it's on a clamp bracket, but something happened to where shock spring, something related there, because it laid over and that thing just shoved all the way up the racetrack. And I actually saw some pictures, and it looked to me, I believe this was the same wreck, but it ripped the whole rear clip off that deal, right? And they changed the rules just a little while back where the seatbelts, the shoulder harnesses had to be mounted to the main cage. See, back in the day, not so long ago, the bar that came back from the main cage, the seatbelt mount used to be on that bar in a lot of cars. It ripped that right off the main cage. So if it would have been mounted there, he could have got hurt really bad. So kudos to everybody involved with racing to change that rule to make it safer for everybody. I remember Bert up in Hibbing, Kenny Wallace actually drove a modified up there. He's driving a car for John Carpenter, and it was mounted on that bar that broke off. And he said, and he didn't even get in a wreck, but he said he's going around the track. He's like, the seatbelts are getting tighter and then looser and then tighter. He's like, what is going on? And if he would have been in a bad wreck, he could have been hurt bad. So glad to see everybody was okay, but that was probably the worst wreck of the weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And just to go back to the regular modifieds, of note, Tyler Wolf, who finished second, he races an MB custom car. So
okay, awesome. No, Saturday night they had the Mod Spooktacular, right? Because it was Halloween night at the 81 Speedway, Park City, Kansas. I kind of watched through the mod stuff, a little bit of excitement in the heat race. In heat number 1, Johnny Scott and Bishop had a epic battle for the lead. Johnny Scott actually just edged him out at the line by just a nose. I mean, that was a great race. And then in heat number 7, I mean, there were 7 heats. There was a lot of modifieds there. Pretty cool deal. Sanders sneaks by Hughes at the line. So Rodney Sanders, who's going to be crowned this weekend the USMTS champion, he's got that deal locked up. But Jason Hughes, he's a former USMTS champion as well. Not quite as fast as he's been, a few years back, but it's still Jason Hughes. The guy's still good. So some good racing there. And then in the mod feature, and late model guys, I tell you, Jimmy Owens brings out a yellow Rex. Actually, he was a mod guy that graduated. So like you said, the late model came back. But Johnny Scott had like a 2-second lead. He's gone. Yeah. And literally with 2 to go, they went back a lap, so it was 3 to go on the restart. Owens broke something, stopped on the track, and there you go. Jake O'Neill snuck by him right on that restart. It looked like Scott just kind of jumped the cushion a little bit. I don't know. He just got high, and Jake O'Neill drove by him on the bottom, drove away. So pretty good racing, actually, overall there. Did you get a chance to watch that one?
I watched the feature, and, yeah, I mean, when I don't know if something broke on Owens or if he spun, because I mean his car was actually sideways on the backstretch, so I'm not exactly sure what happened. But prior to that, the announcer said at least once, if not twice, that Jake O'Neill found something on the bottom because he's moving. And then the caution came out, and that's exactly the lane that he took. And Scott was always running on the high side. And, I mean, after the restart, it wasn't even close. O'Neill just pulled away. And actually, Scott fell back to third.
Yeah. And you'd think there must not have been anybody giving him signals there, because they should have been able to maybe alert him that, hey, O'Neill is really good on the bottom right now. Block that on the restart. It's just like he was so fast before that, and after that restart, I don't know what happened there, lost his concentration or what. Now, here's what stuck out to me, though, on that race. So, obviously, we talked Jake O'Neill won that, but one guy that wasn't there, right, kind of surprised me, and I get it, don't hate the player, hate the game. Lucas Schott, he was there the night before, and he did not go. He did not go to 81 Speedway for the 10,000 to win race. Instead, he went down. He was doing some farming, picking cherries. He went down to the Monarch Motor Speedway in Wichita Falls, Texas, to race against 11 cars. Really? Right? I get it. He was battling for the lead with Gallardo for the USRA points, but yeah, here's the deal. I don't know what I'm more frustrated about. I think I'm more frustrated about that if the USRA, the final weekend, they're going to have a championship weekend. Why do they even allow another USRA race to happen?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I look at that. Do you hate? Does the guy get pissed off at Lucas Schott for cherry picking, or do you kind of like, you can't really blame the guy? It's like, I'm going to try to win this deal. I mean, I get it, but that brings me back to 2001. Right, I'm racing for a national championship against a guy in a super stock, and this dude decided like he'd go everywhere that I wasn't, and it literally pisses me off to this day that he wouldn't race against me. It's like, dude, seriously, let's race head on. And I'm just gonna say, I think he was scared, and he should have been, because I would have given him a beat down, and he would not have won the national championship because he couldn't beat me that year. And the fact is, Lucas Schott, he went cherry picking to get a championship. Now, I was really going to hammer on him for that deal. I was. But then on Sunday, he went on over to Humboldt where all the big boys were, and he put that baby in victory lane. So it's like, all right, he went and cherry picked to win, but he won the next day anyway. So it is what it is. But, that's all on USRA. Wouldn't you say, Bert? I mean, in my mind, I saw that they were having a championship weekend. The points are coming down to that. And I'm like, man, that's a great idea. You take a series, you take a, it could even be WISSOTA with their whole season, IMCA. If they all had a championship weekend where they had 3 or 4 races back to back, that's the only thing in town. And if you're racing for points, you're head to head with the guy you're racing against or the gal, that'd be awesome. And it was set up to be that way. But then all of a sudden they throw this other race in. Nothing against that track. I mean, I get it. They're trying to get more races in, whatever. But USRA should just put their foot down and say, championship weekend is championship weekend. Here's our 4 shows. So they race head to head. Who knows? Maybe Lucas Schott wins that race too. Who knows? But we'll never find out because he went that way. And like he said in the Victory Lane interview the next night, I went that way to block. Like, I'm playing defense. I'm leading. He didn't know where Gallardo was going to go. And Gallardo was probably thinking, man, I should have probably went that way also. But, it is what it is. What's your thoughts on that, Bert?
Well, I mean, I agree. If you're going to have a championship weekend, there should be no other races scheduled against you. I mean, the point of having a championship weekend is to bring all your best drivers to race against each other. As far as him, going to Texas, I mean, I'm sure he mapped it out, looked at the odds on winning a championship if he went to this race or this race. And I mean, you race for national championships. You do what you have to do to win the championship. I mean, I know that there's been, Eastern Wisconsin is more IMCA country for modified stock cars drivers. And we've had a few national champions come from our area. And, when I've interviewed them, you know, they would go race. They would go places where they could get, you know, they knew they could get 3 races in 3 days or something like that. Or, you know, if you know that there's going to be less competition at one race versus another, I mean, drivers actually map that stuff out and make their decisions based on that.
Yeah, you know, and here's the deal. You're right on the money, and I thought about this long and hard. I really did. I'm like, man, am I frustrated that he did that? Because is that kind of a cheesy move? But I can't blame him. I really can't. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, the opportunity was there for both of them to do that. You know, you race all season long. You travel all the miles. You did everything you could, all the sacrifices, the late nights in the shop to win the national championship. You're going to take every opportunity you can to put yourself in a position to win. It is what it is. And that's all on USRA. So any sanctioning body should really take this to note. Why not end whatever series it is, whatever, it could be a traveling series, it could be a sanctioning body, have a championship weekend where it's multiple shows, you know, where it's only one opportunity, you know, and I don't care what the tracks are. It could alternate every year for all I care. I don't care. But there's nothing better than a championship run coming down to the final couple nights, and they're going head to head. That's like my favorite thing. I don't care what sport it is. I don't care what it is. If you get me into a championship deal, I can watch it. I mean, I can even watch soccer. I mean, like literally, if it's a championship deal, I can watch it. And for me as a points chaser, I just love that, you know, I love it coming down to the line. And it's too bad that kind of happened, but that's on USRA, and it is what it is. Now, Sunday, like I said, Lucas Schott did go back to Humboldt where all the big boys were, and he parked that baby in victory lane. You know, the heats really weren't exciting, but the front row, now, R.C. Whitwell, that's the guy we talked about over the winter, or actually almost a year ago down in Arizona. I think he won one of those races down in Arizona. We talked about it back in like January or whatever. He's a heck of a driver. But the front row, and I tried to find out if the points were locked up after Schott had won the night before. I don't think they were. But the front row for that feature, Bert, Lucas Schott and Gallardo on the front row. And Gallardo slipped back to third, and I think he kind of left the tire down. Lucas Schott wins that deal. He only won by 1 point, I believe. So, I mean, it was a close deal. I think he won by 1 point over Jake Gallardo. So, congratulations, Minnesota guy, right? Lucas Schott, Chatfield, Minnesota. Pretty cool to see him winning that championship. Proud of him. I know what it takes to all the sacrifice and hours that go into that. You know, that's not an easy task. There's some really good race car drivers in the tracks that he races at. There's some stout competition, you know, Mississippi Thunder, Deer Creek, stuff like that. So he got it done. But did you get a chance to watch any of the racing from over there at Humboldt?
I did watch some of that race. Yeah, you're correct. He did have a flat tire, so that regulated him to the back. And the racing wasn't as eventful as some of the other races that I watched that week over the last weekend.
No, it wasn't. I saw somebody post on Facebook, and you know, they said, "Oh, this is what a track should look like." It was black top to bottom, and I'm like, man, when I was racing, I would have been like, "You're right on the money." But you know, that black, dry, slow. I mean, the B-Mod feature, it looked like they were going 20 miles an hour. I mean, they were going so slow. And that's just not exciting. But, you know, at the end of the day, a good race car driver, a champion race car driver is going to excel on any condition. And that's exactly what he did. He did what he had to do to get it done. And let's move on. You know, I think we'll get past some odds here for this past weekend. You know, pretty good racing there, USRA. The season is done. Let's jump into the sprint cars. You know, my buddy Keith's going to be a little upset with me because we didn't start out with sprint cars this week, but there was some sprint car racing, not World of Outlaws. Did you get a chance to watch anything from the Tom Tarleton Classic over at the Keller Auto Speedway in California? Did you get a chance to watch anything?
No, I didn't get to see any of the sprint car racing.
Yeah, I jumped on Flow Sports there, and you know, here's what's interesting. So last week they announced, right, Kyle Larson was, I think it was a week or two ago, where he's no longer going to have his World of Outlaw team, leaving Carson Macedo without a ride. Well, guess who won? Carson Macedo. Guess who got second? Kyle Larson. So it's like, huh, I just beat the old boss. That was a pretty cool deal. Rico was there, Sweet was there. I mean, a bunch of the guys went out to that race. I feel like it was 21 grand to win, I think, but I'm not positive. And so it's the racing actually wasn't all that spectacular, but I thought it was pretty neat though that the kid Carson Macedo just knocked down the former boss and got that done. And
Yeah.
well, where they were, right? They're way the heck over there in California. And now this week they're driving all the way across the whole country to go to North Carolina to the last call. So there's a little bit of traveling there.
Yeah, a little bit.
So before we get in the late models, hey, talk about one of our sponsors here, Zuli Performance. Speaking of Minnesota, a Minnesota guy winning the USRA National Champion. This is a Minnesota champion engine builder, Frank Zuli, Zuli Race Engines. I tell you, that guy, I talked to several drivers that have his stuff, especially over in the Western Minnesota region. And if you're in the market right now, you're looking to kind of up your program, you're looking to make a little change, not quite happy with your engine program from 2020, looking at 2021, give Frank a call. Great engines, even better customer service. I talked to several people, including Justin Vogel, a former national champion. He says the customer service with Frank, second to none. As a racer myself, okay, the people that I did business with, whether it was a chassis builder, engine builder, whoever, I wanted to have that relationship with them. I wanted them to care how I did. I wanted them to be like, how'd the weekend go? How did it run? I wanted that kind of relationship. And that's the kind of relationship you'll get when you get a hold of Zuli Race Engines and, keeping it local. We don't need this crate stuff. We don't need that. Chevy's got enough. They got enough money. Get local, get an engine from him. You'll be glad you did. So let's move on. Forbert here. Forbert, let's talk a little late models. You said you watched a little bit down there from Mississippi from the mag. What stuck out to you over at the Jambalaya 100?
Well, the first thing that came to mind was Jason Feger made the trip down to Mississippi. I mean, I don't know how many miles or how many hours that is, but that's got to be a long haul from Illinois down to Mississippi. So, he was a well-known driver down there. Tyler Erb Turbo was down there. And those two, it was 2 nights of racing, and those two swapped the top spot each night. So it was Jason Feger winning on Friday night, Turbo won or finished second on Friday night, Turbo won on Saturday night, and Feger finished second. The racing was pretty good between those two for much of both races, but I mean overall the racing wasn't too spectacular. I mean it wasn't on the edge of your seat type of racing.
You know what's interesting, Bert? I kind of watched that, and I kind of looked a little further back in the field, and I'm kind of wondering, like, if those two hadn't been there, would it have been more? I mean, there was some more people in the mix, because there were some battles kind of deeper in the field, and really, in my mind, Turbo should have won both nights. He had the better car the first night. He just couldn't find a way to maybe get by Feger there. But you're right, Feger making the trip down was pretty cool.
Yeah, he said that I watched his post-race interview, and he said, I don't know if he said the track or the fans from that area were begging him on Facebook to come down to that race. So I don't know, maybe the moral of the story is blow up the Facebook message box for your favorite drivers if you want to see them come to your track. I mean, chances are they won't, but who knows? They just might.
There's some truth to that, because drivers like to feel appreciated, right? They do. So if a track reaches out to you, I'm telling you, it's crazy how it works. If a track reaches out to you and says, man, we'd love to have you here. What do we got? What can we do to get you here? That goes a long ways. It really does. And then furthermore, when you get down there and the fans show their appreciation, I remember traveling, and, I know Jason Feger, that guy's high, he's won a lot of stuff. But the fact is, I remember going to different places, and they made you feel so welcome, so appreciated for making the trip down, that it's like, I think I'm going to do that again next year. So hats off to whoever that was, whether it was a track, the fans, or whoever. good job on that. We need more of that. And it paid off this time, especially for Jason Fegler, a first and a second. Good job there. So,
well, the other cool thing from his post race interview was the fact that since he said that everybody, they begged him to come down there, he said, "Well, stop by my trailer, have some beers. We have T-shirts and other things for you to buy."
That reminds me of Dave. I think it was Dave Flynn. It had to be, because that boy likes to drink some beer. He's a heck of a race car driver, super stock guy, and I think it was him up in Superior. He had a sponsor. I don't want to say who it was because I don't remember exactly on what beer distributor, but I think they had a deal. Come on down, and when you come on down to the 29F car after the races, I'll give you a beer. And that was a cool deal because it got people down in the pits after the races, fan driver interaction. So not a bad idea. So that's a pretty cool deal. And again, racing needs more of that for sure. Let's head over to Kentucky, Richmond, Kentucky, Bluegrass Nationals. It turned out to be a Jackie Boggs tribute race. Talk a little bit about that. Did you catch any of that action?
I didn't see any of the action, but I saw a lot of posts on Facebook about there were some drivers who had special graphic schemes on their cars as a tribute to Jackie Boggs. It was fitting that Zach Dome, who actually won the race, had a Jackie Boggs graphic scheme. Tyler Carpenter also had one, and I don't know who the third driver was. I saw a picture of the car, but I'm not sure who the driver was. So it's always, I think we've talked about this on here before. On the track, drivers are very competitive. They can get heated sometimes, but it is a close-knit family. And for, drivers to pay tribute to a fallen driver, that's something special.
It sure is, and our late model expert, Jeff, actually shot over the same picture that you did there. And he said, it's pretty cool that Tyler Carpenter seems like he's kind of the king of the tribute cars this year, right? The one before that, his dad was in the police car and he was in the armed forces car, so that's a pretty cool deal. And hats off Zach Dome getting that one done. And now,
well, not only did Dome win, but he also won the title for that series.
Oh, now what series was that? Do you remember?
I don't know if it's called the Bluegrass Nationals or it's the Ultimate Heart of America series, Bluegrass Nationals.
Okay. Well, he ran good over at the Dirt Track World Championship too. What did he end up finishing there? Because he battled up front for quite a while.
Yeah, I don't remember where he finished there. But another interesting thing about the Bluegrass Nationals was I was reading the results story, and it said that the heat races paid $500 to win.
I did see that. That's pretty cool. So it gives you some incentive. Not only is it a qualifying deal, but there's a little cash on the line, little incentive. So as on the promoter side of me, I'm going, oh, man, I don't want to pay out any more than I have to. But on the driver's side, we all appreciate it. That extra money goes a long ways. It really does.
Yeah, I agree. Whenever a racer has a chance to put a little extra cash in their pocket, it's a good thing for them.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So I also saw Rick Eckert parked in Victory Lane up in Georgetown, Delaware, of all places. I don't like Delaware has a racetrack. I didn't even know Delaware had a racetrack. The Mid-Atlantic Championship up there. So hats off to Pennsylvania's own Rick Eckert for parking in Victory Lane there. Now, another thing we'll touch on, last week, they actually had a race in Charlotte. We got upcoming race, right? They got the last call coming up, but they actually had the World Short Track Championship. And just for Puka, they had like 872 classes or something like that. And the only one that I watched, I kind of thumbed through the features. I kind of watched that a little bit. And the only one that stuck out to me was the modified feature, the high side tickler, Kyle Strickler in a Longhorn chassis. Steve Arpin, of course, involved with Longhorn, switching over into the mod realm there. But Kyle Strickler getting it done, his third World Short Track Championship over there. And what stuck out to me, Bert, is the track was atrocious. It was horrible. I mean, literally, if you have Flow Sports, you can jump on Flow Sports. I believe it was Flow. I don't think it was Dirt Vision. I can't remember. It was either Dirt Vision or Flow Sports. It might have been Dirt Vision, but it was so bad. I mean, like literally in the mod feature, it was so dusty that you couldn't even see the track. And I don't remember who the guy was, but there was a time where a car broke and he kind of stopped up on the high side, and like everybody just about hit him. I don't think anybody could see him. It was so dusty, and I'm really, really hoping, we'll knock on wood right here, that the track is better than that for this weekend, because it was a dust bowl. It was choppy. It just was not good. So in my mind, I'm thinking maybe they wanted to get 1 weekend of racing in before they brought the big boys in, maybe harden that surface up. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know, but I hope the track isn't like that this coming weekend. Well, this coming week, actually, because the late models are there on
Right.
Wednesday.
Right. I guess we'll find out soon enough. But the mod racing was good, though. I mean, there was several good modifieds. It was a UMP show, so I mean, he ran well. Another guy that obviously the lethal chassis, Stremme, he started on the front row, and David Stremme, seriously, dude, like you need to be really, really happy that you got people like Shane Sabraski, Johnny Broking, Dan Ebert in your car winning, because he just doesn't get it done, right? The cars are obviously fast, but the guys that are running them up in Wissota country are a heck of a lot faster than him. And he just, I don't know what his deal is. I don't know if maybe he's just testing stuff all the time. I'm not really sure, but I just don't see him in victory lane, which to me is kind of odd, knowing how fast they are. Hoffman came from deep. I think he cracked up into the podium spot there. But yeah, just kind of a weird deal. Stremme just not real impressive. Now that kind of, that was kind of the weekend racing, so to speak. We got a big one coming up here. We got a big one. It was supposed to be the World Finals. It still kind of is, right? But it's going to be the last call for the World of Outlaws. This, of course, is going to be on Dirt Vision, and they're running Wednesday night, Thursday night. I don't know. Thursday, was it Wednesday night, Thursday night?
It's Wednesday, Thursday.
Models, and Friday, Saturday, of course,
Yep.
The sprint cars. And a couple storylines coming in, and then we'll kind of get into some picks. Now, really no storyline on the late models other than Kyle Larson and Donnie Schatz are going to be running all 4 nights. They're both running their late models and the sprint cars. The points is a done deal. Bishop is going to be the champion. I believe Ricky Weiss has it all but wrapped up for second. That's pretty much done. I think there's a 46-point gap there in the sprint cars between Sweet looking to go back-to-back. He's got a slight lead. He's got that lead over Schuchart, and Schuchart's got a slight lead, not that much of a lead over Donnie Schatz, okay? So kind of coming in, a little bit of a storyline there, Bert. Donnie Schatz looking for win number 300 on his career. That'd be a big way to finish. So, what's kind of what's sticking out to you coming into this weekend? What's your thoughts on the last call for the World of Outlaws?
I mean, obviously, it's too bad that COVID has ruined another race weekend. What that was supposed to be spectacular. Normally they have 3 divisions there: late model, sprint cars, and the big blocks. And but yeah, I mean, in the late model division, there's the points are wrapped up, but I'm sure Brandon Sheppard wants to put another victory or 2 in his. He wants to cement his case for driver of the year. And as far as the sprint cars go, yeah, Brad Sweet has. Last time I said this, the guy rolled over. But as long as nothing crazy happens, he should win the championship. But like I said that earlier this year about the late model division at Shawano, and the guy leading the points at that time rolled over. so you never know what's going to happen. I mean,
especially with that show, there's a lot of cars going to be there. Right. So a bad night's a bad night. I mean, so right. You just never know.
Because I think he's up by 49 points, I think.
Yeah, 46, 49, just under 50. So he's got a pretty comfortable lead there, but it's one of those deals where if he can have a good night one, he'll sleep better after night one if night one goes well. Let's put it that way. So
yeah, I think he's up by 49, and then Schatz is out by like 64 or something like
Yeah,
that.
I think that sounds right. Now, what let's do some picks for this one. I mean, let's start with late models, okay? Bert, Jeff already our late model expert, Jeff, he wanted to get in the game here. He says, you know what, I got some picks for this one. He says Madden's in a fairly new ride again, right? He goes, night one is going to go to Madden. Night two is going to go to the high side tickler, Kyle Strickler, who has been very impressive the later part of the year here. So that's his pick for the late models. Our sprint car expert, Keith, said Kyle Larson, Kyle Larson, Kyle Larson, Kyle Larson. So that just, I think Keith, I love you, man, but I think the man crush is getting a little bit too deep there. But he's got Kyle Larson, Kyle Larson. All right, Bert, who do you have to get her done in the late models at the last call?
In the late models, I am going to go with the two national champions. I'm going to say Jimmy Owens the first night, and Brandon Sheppard is going to seal the season with another victory.
All right. Well, I think we're gonna agree on B-Shep. Okay, I'm taking him for night two also. Night one, I'm Brandon Overton. He's my pick for night one. He's had a heck of a year, probably one of the best years he's ever had, and I'm looking for him to park that baby in victory lane on night one. 57 lates pre-registered, no 20 RT, no Ricky Thornton Jr. I think he's gonna run some mod stuff over there in Arizona. Are you surprised to see him not on the list? I don't believe he's on there, is he?
I haven't looked at the list, but if he's not on the list, that's a little surprising. You know, I know he enjoys running his modified, and he gets to keep all the money when he runs his modified. But, you know, he's going to be running late models full time next year. So you'd think that, you know, you would want to get as much seat time as you can.
Yeah, and I could be wrong there. I feel like I didn't see him on the list. That would be a shocker to me. Now, let's get into sprint cars, okay? So we'll start with Keith. That was a really tough one. Kyle Larson, Kyle Larson, Kyle Larson, Kyle Larson. And now Jeff, our late model expert, he weighed in also. He said Carson Macedo is going to go back-to-back. That's what he said. He's predicting Macedo to win, and he's also predicting Donnie Schatz to get win number 300. And he went above and beyond in this one because he said not only is that going to happen, but Sweet is going to lay an egg, and Donnie Schatz is going to win his 11th World of Outlaw title. That's pretty bold. I think that's why he's a late model expert, not a sprint car expert, but we'll find out here soon enough. Bert, who do you got?
First night, I am going to take Hodenschild, and the second night, I will take Sweet to seal the championship.
All right. Well, I don't know which order it's going to be, but I'm going to say the cream rises to the top. And I'm going to say that Sweet wins one, Schatz wins one. Schatz I tell you, they kind of sounds like they got a little bit of a change up maybe going in some engine stuff. There might be some stuff going on there. They struggled for a little while, but the last month here, he's been pretty darn good. And I would so like to see Donnie Schatz get win number 300 to end the season, right? Instead of having to try to worry about getting that done to begin the year. I would love to see him get that done. I call him the Minot Missile. Of course, he lives in Fargo. I was corrected on that, which is right? But in my mind, back when he was racing the Wasota stuff, I mean, he was the Minot Missile, I mean, in my mind. But Donnie Schatz, either way, he's a kind of a homer to us, you know, up in the Wasota region, and northern guy. I'd love to see him I really would love to see him get a win. Now, here's an off the wall question for you. Who's going to perform better in the late model, Schatz or Kyle Larson?
Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson. So I think Schatz has more experience in the late model.
He does.
I think Larson, the stars aligned, but he laid a huge egg at the Dirt Track World Championships. I mean, he was a mess there. You know what? I'm gonna just play the anti-Larson in this one. You said Larson. I'm gonna say Schatz outperforms him in the late model. That's a little bit of an interesting storyline too. It'd be kind of fun to watch that. Keith will be having a ball with a couple sprint car guys in the late models there, so that'll be pretty fun to see. Now, that's not it for late model racing, though. See, they go East Alabama Motor Speedway. I think it's a 46th running of the National 100 down in Phoenix City, Alabama. That's going to be on Flow, and 15 grand to win. Madden won that deal last year. What's your thoughts on that? That's a Saturday, Sunday deal. I'm pretty excited to see that too.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine quite a few drivers will make the trek over there. You said it's 5 hours from Charlotte, and these are the types of races that Brandon Overton goes to and usually wins. So I guess you could say that's my prediction.
there it is. There it is. Well, I know one guy that's not going to be there. Actually, two. We'll get to one in a second here. But one guy that's not going to be there is Brandon Sheppard. See, Brandon Sheppard, I figured in my mind it's 5 hours away. He'll probably go run that one too. But there's some USMTS modified racing going on. The Summit Southern Nationals USMTS Championship weekend. Now, I really hope that there's not USMTS shows scattered elsewhere, right? Hope they don't do that. But basically, that's at the RPM Speedway, Crandall, Texas. Rodney Sanders has it locked up again for the USMTS National Championship. It's going to be on Racing Dirt. And I saw today on Racing Dirt on Facebook, they posted Brandon Sheppard's going to have the B5 in the house. So he kind of liking that modified, I think.
Yeah, he's got to do a little better in it than he did last weekend. I'm not sure what happened the first night last weekend, but he finished last in his heat, I do believe. He must have had some sort of issues.
Yeah, I'm sure he must have DNF'd or something. I'm not sure. I heard his car wouldn't turn. But he did pretty well Sunday, though. He broke in the heat and then come from deep in the feature. I think he was just outside the top 5.
Okay. So, I mean, when I was watching those races, I was kind of keeping an eye on him, and I will have to admit, and you may not like this, but he's much more fun to watch in a late model than a modified.
Give him a few more laps in a modified, and we'll see how that works, right? We'll see how that works. I mean, the kid can flat out drive a race car. Let's just put it that way. But it's painful to say this, but I do agree. Right, I do agree. He is so fun to watch in that late model. He can put that car anywhere on the track. Yep. But I truly believe that if you're that good in one class, you'll be that good in another class.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be interesting to see how he does this weekend after one full weekend in that car. And it's the same car because USRA, USMTS, same deal, same rules. So it's going to be really fun to see how that one weekend rolled into this weekend. And I'm going to predict that he maybe parks that baby in Victory Lane one night.
Well, and, you know, I should qualify what I said before, too, is, I mean, late models have bigger tires, bigger engines. So he can't do the moves in the modified that he does in the late model. So,
yeah. So hey, that brings us to the last lap. We'll start out with you. A few schedules came out, okay? Mm-hmm. And we'll start over in eastern Wisconsin. And the 141 Speedway, they put their schedule out. What stuck out to you over there in eastern Wisconsin?
Well, whenever 141 schedule comes out, you know, me being a late model fan, I always look to see if there's any late model races on the schedule. And scanning the schedule, I didn't see any late model races on it. Normally when they would have late models would be the practice night leading up into the Clash at the Creek, which is a 10,000 to win IMCA modified show. And then also at their 2-day year-end special, they would have late models, and those were always sanctioned by Dirt Kings the last few years. They were on the 2020 schedule, but they were canceled. COVID was blamed for the cancellations. Whether that's the case or not, I don't know. I mean, the races still ran, but just not with late models there. And I see that looking at the 2021 schedule on the practice night leading into the Clash at the Creek, instead of late models, they have 1,000 to win street stock show. So, you know, I'm sure payout money had an influence. I mean, because obviously a payout for late models is going to be more than the payout for street stocks. But, So that's unfortunate. But I mean, their staple races are on the schedule. The Clash at the Creek is June 16th, 17th. Their King of the Creek, which is 5,000 to win for IMCA stock cars, is July 21st through the 22nd. And then the Captain of the Creek is a 5,000 to win sport mod show, and that's August 18th and 19th. So they still have their big specials for the other divisions, but they just must not feel that late models draw enough fans to the track. So that's unfortunate from a late model standpoint, but I mean, it should be, they still have all their other big schedules, so it should still be a good year for them. And then Outagamie Speedway, which is located in Seymour, Wisconsin, they released their schedule also, and they they do have 3 late models. Late models will be at the track 3 different times: May 28th, July 2nd, and then September 18th at the Fall Brawl. No mention on sanctioning. I know Dirt Kings hasn't released their schedule yet, so I don't know if these are going to be Dirt King races or just unsanctioned by the track. And then the other thing of interest is the World of Outlaw late models will be returning to Outagamie Speedway in 2021, but rather than in early July, they will be there on August 3rd, which will be the race right before all the drivers head to the USA Nationals. Now, what's interesting about that is for 9 years, that race was always at Shawano Speedway. In this year, 2020, they held that race at Beaver Dam Raceway in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, which is more southern Wisconsin because they're coming up from Fairbury. And my understanding was they wanted a race closer, more in line, for a more direct line from Fairbury to Cedar Lake rather than having to drive up into central Wisconsin. But apparently that didn't work out so well in 2020 because Seymour is only like 30 minutes away from Shawano. So you're not, the driving isn't much different than what it was for 9 years prior to this year.
You mentioned that the Dirt King's not at 141, but maybe that's their, who knows when Dirt King's.
Yeah, I don't know the reasoning behind it.
Maybe they will be on there. Maybe they just haven't quite worked that out yet. Let's cross our fingers that maybe that'll happen. And boy, that series, it seems like a good series. So I'd really like to see Shawano with the race. I'd like to see 141. I'd really like to see them take hold of that deal and make it work. I don't know all the logistics to it, the finances. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. But, it's nice to see that series. It's good for the drivers in that area. So it'd be nice to see them all kind of make that happen. Now, you mentioned Cedar Lake, Bert. Their schedule came out too. And a couple of interesting things specifically on the late model realm of things. What stuck out to you there?
Well, actually, the most interesting thing that I noticed was the Thursday night race prior to the USA Nationals will not be a World of Outlaw show. It's going to be a Mars Series show. And I actually like that idea because I think you could draw some more regional drivers up to race in the Mars Series. And since they're already up in the area, you would hope that they would stay and race the USA Nationals. And actually, that's how this was, several years ago when they had the Corn Belt Series out of Iowa.
Corn Belt Clash.
And so they would get those Iowa drivers up here, and then they would just stay the entire weekend. So, hopefully this will pull a lot of the Illinois drivers and maybe even more of the southern Wisconsin drivers, to Cedar Lake to race in the Mars Series race.
Yeah, I think that's great. I'm excited for that. Tony Izzo Jr., I should say, bought that series last year, and it just didn't work out. I mean, he still had a decent series, but 2020 with the COVID crap kind of messed him up. But it looks like he's looking to expand that series. He's very aggressive, big late model guy. So pretty excited to see something different, right? Something different. Bringing that Mars Series up there to Cedar Lake. Excited. I know Puka, sorry, man, but Jeff mentioned Puka is not going to like the beginning of the year and end of the year special, 10 classes of cars. It's like, oh man, it looks like they're doing the same format. They're having the legendary opener. I think they're doing the same thing they did at the end of the year where they have the qualifying race, and then the main event deal is kind of what it sounds like. But aggressive schedule. They got the month of money again. And I jumped the gun on that deal because I looked at the dates for the Superstock race and I'm like, what the heck are they doing? That's the weekend of the Superstock series. So I kind of got all over Chris's case, and turns out that they moved the Superstock series back a week. So sorry, Chris, but exciting to see, that month of money. That was good for the drivers and 4 classes. Lots of stuff going down there at the Cedar Lake Speedway, of course, in 2020. Now, Bert, another thing that stuck out to me, Granite City Speedway, James Trantina purchased the Granite City Speedway, and he's going to be promoting it starting in 2021. Dude, that guy is flat out aggressive. Like the crazy stuff that he's got going on there next year makes my head literally spin around in circles, and it doesn't surprise me. This guy here started with just a one wrecker, and now I think he's like the 3rd biggest wrecker company. Collins Brothers Towing, they sponsor, I think they sponsored Ricky Weiss, actually, and I know that they sponsored Dan Ebert, but that guy is flat out a go-getter, built a huge monster of a business in the wrecker company, and when he does something, that guy is balls for the walls, all in, and it sounds like they're going to have a ton of stuff going on. And in my mind, maybe it's a conservative side of me going, this guy is out of his mind. Like, he's going to, seriously, with all the stuff he has going on. But pretty excited to see what happens down there at the Granite City Speedway. Racing needs a guy that is willing to put his neck on the line and make some stuff happen. I really hope that everything works together with all the area tracks. But let's just say they got some big plans down there in right by St. Cloud, Minnesota. Now, we talked about Bishop not going to that race Saturday and Sunday to the National 100. Another guy that's not going to the National 100 is going to be Ricky Weiss. He's going to be over in North Carolina. But did you see what he has going on over the next couple weeks here?
Yeah, you sent me something. He's going to race a crate late model, your favorite division.
Say it ain't so, man. Say it ain't so. Like, Puka's going to love this, right? He's going to be in his height of glory. But so I feel like he stayed at Bulls Gap or something, because he stayed in Tennessee, and I think he's pretty tight with the promoter down there. And they're actually running, I believe, a $2,500 to win deal this weekend. Saturday, Sunday type deal at Bulls Gap. But next weekend is the Crate Late Model National Championship event at Bulls Gap, $20,000 to win. So I'm assuming this weekend here, he's just going to kind of get that car to where it rotates good with that lesser power, and he's going to go after that $20,000 the following week, could be my guess. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a $20,000 to win race, I would imagine he's going to race in that if he's going to race in these other races first. But like you said, he wants to figure out the car a little bit rather than just, okay, let's just do this without any practice or anything.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, you're talking a hotbed of racing, kind of a location down there, pretty good location for late model racers. It'll be interesting to see that following week how many of the big late model guys maybe jump into a crate car to run that deal for $20,000 to win. I guess we'll find out about a week from now.
I mean, we saw some jump into one for the, $25,000 to win the other week. Pearson, Bronson. So, yeah, there could be more. Who knows?
Bronson ran a crate this last weekend, too. He was actually over in Charlotte. I think he got 3rd. He ran okay, but he wasn't the guy. Maybe even got 2nd. I believe he was a podium finish, but he ran that. So he very well could be a guy that comes up because he's been running the crate stuff a little bit. And I'm excited. I guess this weekend, the thing I'm most excited about is Charlotte. I think, the last call, we got some sprint car racing. We got some World of Outlaw late model racing. If I had to pick what I'm most excited about, it's that. There is some good mod racing going to be happening with the USMPS stuff, but I think I'm probably more excited about Charlotte than I am about everything else. How about you?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the races at Charlotte, those are going to be the races to watch this week. Nothing against the USMTS series, but when the fact that you should have drivers from both Lucas and World of Outlaws there, just makes those races even more special.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I think it'll be some quality racing there. And I think we'll end with this. I didn't get to watch any football this last weekend. Did you? I mean, anything stick out to you there? I'm just curious.
Yeah. No words to say.
No, you know what sucks, Bert?
The Packers did not play well, but they're still they only have 2 losses, and the Vikings have only 2 wins. So
yeah, fair enough.
We'll leave it at that.
What's crazy is that with all the craziness and drama and all the political crap, I just ain't watched as much football as I normally do this year. And with the Vikings sucking as bad as they've been sucking, right? They were 1-5 going in. I'm like, I am not watching this bloodbath. I'm just not. And literally, I went and did a couple meetings, and I come back, and I'm like, 28-14 Vikings. I'm like, what the hell happened? And so then I started watching the game, and at the end of the game, they give up a touchdown. They give up a 2-point conversion. They don't convert. They give the ball back to Rodgers. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. They're going to give this one away too? And they luckily, there was a beautiful strip sack, fumble there by the Vikings to seal the deal. But they almost gave that one away too. So, but yeah, finally, it feels like forever, Bert, since my Vikings have beat your Packers. It feels like it's been a very long time.
The thing that was frustrating was you knew what the Vikings were going to do every play, and they couldn't stop it.
This is Dalvin Cook. I mean, he was healthy in week 1 this year, but I don't know what. No excuses. They just got way outplayed by the Packers week 1. But last year, Cook didn't play, I don't believe, either game. So
you may be right on that. Yeah.
So there is that. But Dalvin Cook exposed some weaknesses in the Packers. I'm glad he's a Viking. But no matter how good that game went, it's still not dirt track racing. That's a hell of a lot better all day long.
I'm with you. I'm not watching as much football as I have in previous years. I mean, I watch the Packers every week, and if I'm not doing anything, I'll turn the game on. But I don't go out of my way to watch NFL football this year.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of race fans that are agreeing with you right now. So, Bert, it's been a pleasure, and great week of racing. Great week of racing coming up here. We're gonna have a lot to talk about next week.
Yep.
There's still. I mean, there really isn't an off season anymore. There just isn't. There's racing going on all the time, but that's it for episode number 53, the first show of a new year of shows. I'm Ryan Aho. That's Bert Lehman. And as Puka says all the time, go out there and be your dream. We're the One to Go show.